Hello. Test, test. Test, test. All right, we got a test. All right, do we have anybody in? All right, so we are on Facebook Live and YouTube Live with this. My name's Nick. Our family has Barn Dwellers Farm and Ranch. I'm going to go ahead and get started as others come in or as they watch. It's also recording, so hopefully people can look back and get any information that is not shared or if they miss out on it. So well, having problems on Facebook, we're just going to disconnect that. And we'll focus on YouTube. Let's So everyone else can catch up. We'll get started. So the topic is generators. We have definitely had quite a week here in Texas. Lots going on as far as the weather goes. With that, there's a lot of outages in terms of electricity. A lot of people sitting in cold houses. Had lots of friends just that I interact with. Some of their houses were 35 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees. And so what, as we go through that, it's just a situation which, you know, you look at your neighbors around you and you look at your friends and you just want to help. And so what we really want to do is just provide some information. Some of this is going to be, it's going to be more than just basic. It's going to get into a little bit more than just the basic understanding of the generators. But what we want to do is kind of tie in some of this stuff and really understand what the purpose is for having a generator. Your power going out, you know, how do you hook it up? How do you navigate that? I personally don't want people to just not have any information and just do it, go forward and not have a clear understanding of how to hook a generator up. There's things that can go badly if you just hook a generator up to your house with the power on. So these are some of the things we want to go through. There's people joining us, so as they come on, we will hopefully have some interaction in the comments section. If you have a question as we go through here, be sure to put it in the comments. I will definitely get to those and try to answer them to the best of the ability as we can on this YouTube Live. Where's everybody from? All right, so like I said, we're talking about generators. There's a wide range of events that have taken place but we just want to put up good information, get it out there to y'all, so that we're not just ignorantly hooking up things and hoping for the best. So I'll tell you a quick story. A buddy of mine, it's probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. We're having a conversation. He's like, hey man, I got a solar guy that wants to put up some solar panels on my house and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. And it was a grid tied system. And through the conversation, I let him know that if the power grid went down, he would not be able to use that energy. It would be dead to him. There would be nothing with those solar panels that are really being used for. And so as we were talking about, he's like, well, what should I do in an event that power goes out? I mean, if I can't use my solar panels on my grid tied system, then how do I have that power? How do I have power for my house? And so I told him in his situation, the best thing for him to do is just get a generator. It's a very simple fix. Simple. We'll get into that and why it's not so simple. In our chat groups and online, in our different part of a homesteading group and several other groups, and you see these people posting up and, yeah, I'll just get a generator. I need a generator. What I learned from this event is I need a generator. Well, okay, but how do we use that generator and why? So one of the things that we need to start looking for is, what are we not going to do with a generator? The first thing is, and I'm going to look down. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. So forgive me. The first thing that we do not want to do is we're not going to plug that sucker in while we're connected to the grid. So the first thing we're going to do is turn off our main electric. We have to turn that off. If we are leaving that on, then we're putting people at risk down the line that are working on the line. So that's the first thing. Turn off your main power. which on a lot of houses today, you have a 200 amp service and you're going to shut it off. The next thing you're not going to do is you're not going to run it in your house. That will give you carbon monoxide poisoning and you will die. Do not do that. Do not run it inside your house. Your generator will be outside of your house. And then the other don't buy a generator without doing the math or consulting someone that can help you figure out what you need as far as how much power you need. So why are those things important? Well, the average home in America uses 2,500 kilowatt hours per month. Well, that breaks down to 83 kilowatt hours a day, or 3.5 kilowatts an hour. Now, we're using more when we're awake than when we're asleep. And so you don't want to just, even though that averages out to 3,500 watts, 3.5 kilowatts is 3,500 watts. You don't just go buy a 4,000 watt generator because that's what you're using on average, and you're not always using that. So how do we navigate that? Well, you need to know what you're trying to power. I would say a refrigerator is something you're wanting to power. So let's say a refrigerator is drawing, just for simple math, let's just say 5 amps. Let's say you want to do your deep freeze and it's 7 amps. Let's say you have a well pump and say it's pulling 10 amps. So we've got this amperage here. But some of the other things that we have to look at is we have to look at what voltage is this? Well, this is going to be 120. Your freezer. So you got your refrigerator, you got your freezer, and then you've got your well pump. Your freezer is 120 volts. Your well pump is 240 volts. So as we're looking at this, and I'm looking at my screen, it's all backwards, so I'm going to have to fix that in the future. But what we're looking at on that is we're looking at amps and voltage. The reason why we're doing that is because that's going to help us convert to watts. Your current, or I, so current, times your voltage equals your watts. That's an important formula to understand and to know. Knowing that, once you start figuring out what you want to run from your generator, you can size your generator because you have the information you need to get there. So I'm going to grab a calculator real quick so I don't have to just do this in my head. But we're going to do 5 times 120 gives us 600 watts. We've got 7 times 120, 840 watts. And then we've got 240 times 10, do the math real quick, you got 2,400 watts. I'm going to add this up real quick. So we've got 3,840 with these 3 devices. This is also 3.84 kW or kilowatts. So doing quick math, we know that just for these 3 things that we have to have at least a 4,000 watt generator. If we don't have a 4,000 watt generator, we can't run our refrigerator, deep freeze, and our well pump. Now, these are not exactly what yours is going to be. This is just an example. So it's important to go to your refrigerator. There's a tag on your refrigerator. Look at that tag. See how many amps it is. There's a tag on your well pump control. Look in there and see how many amps that's pulling. And remember that on your well pump, it's 240 volts times that amperage to get to your watts. So go and look at those numbers. Same thing on your deep freeze. It's going to be there. Most of your appliances are going to have those stickers on it that gives you the actual information. So go look at those things. The next thing, once you know what you need as far as capacity for your generator, then you can go get a generator. Now, the next thing that you have to look at, that you want to do, is you need to make sure that the breaker, the circuit that you are hooked into, it has the capacity to handle that. So if you have a breaker, and if we're adding all these up, we're going to be using a breaker that's going to pull, if we're using 3,800 watts, you're going to need a breaker that's going to be able to handle that. If it's a 240, then let's do the quick math on that. Divided by 240, you need at least a 20 amp 240 breaker in this scenario. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you, get with an electrician. Once you get to the size of generator you need to hook it up, have a plug that's outside, run outside for you, a box that you know that you're going to plug that into. Have an electrician go ahead and tie that in to a breaker that can handle that, because what you don't want to do is start a fire in your house when you're trying to get your food cold, when you're trying to keep your family alive. You don't want that. So make sure that you get an electrician and hook it up properly so that you know. Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you work on your own home and you're in the county, you don't have permits or anything like that, then make sure you know exactly what you're doing. Don't do it ignorantly, or else you're not helping the situation, you're hurting the situation. So we want to do our homework on that. The next thing that we want to do is to make sure that we really go through the scenarios in our head. As we're going through this, are we trying to live using every bit of convenience, or are we just trying to get through the situation? And if we're just trying to get through the situation, what can you live without? Now, the situation that occurred happened and everything was freezing. So in Texas, more than likely, our issue is not going to be freezing temps. This is a once in a 30-year occurrence. What we're going to be dealing with, though, is hot, heat. It's 105 in July, and that's when the power goes out. We've got a thunderstorm that goes through. How do we go through that? How do we navigate through that? And as we start thinking through that on what we need, then maybe instead of trying to cool our entire house, we're cooling one room that we shut the door. We shut the door to one room and we put in a window unit to cool that one room so that we have some reprieve. We need to start thinking about that. Also, go through your breaker panel and label all the different appliances that you want to keep running. You need to have them labeled so you know which breakers you want on and off, because if you're using that generator, you don't want anything else pulling from it except for what you're trying to power. If you have something else pulling from it, then it's not going to be powering up what you need. It's taking that, it's using more fuel, and it's making you less efficient. So make sure that you label all the circuits for the equipment that you need powered, for the appliances that you need power, And by doing that, you're going to run efficient. As we navigate through this, are there any questions specific to this? Because everybody's situation is going to be different. But if you have, a generic question and you want a little bit more information, that's fine. Any generic questions, go ahead, pop in right now, ask them, and I'll walk through that. If you have any specific questions, I'm going to throw let's see. Well, you know what? I can attach, we've got an Instagram. You can send me a private message here on YouTube. You can go ahead and hit us up on Facebook. However, which way you want to, you can get a hold of us, send me an email or whatnot, or a private message, and I can answer some other questions. But the one thing that I'll reiterate is that you want to go through the process. So had a question right here. Coming in late, how did you go over the sizing of a generator? Okay, yeah, we did, but you know what? This is YouTube Live. Let's do it again. Sorry for those that were in here, but we're going to do it again. So to size a generator, you're going to look at several things. So you need to figure out what you're trying to power. So in our example, and I hate that it's backwards, but we've got a refrigerator, a freezer, and a well pump. And so on that, we've got amperage. And so that's going to be on a sticker that's on your appliance. You need to find that sticker and it'll tell you the amperage. But you also need to know voltage. So your refrigerator and freezer are going to be 120. And then your well pump, if you have a well pump or anything else that's 240, you need to, have it written down as well. You're going to go and multiply your current times your voltage, and that gets you your wattage. Once you add that up, and if these are all the things that you want to be able to run no matter what, then you're going to need at least, on this example, we had 3,840 watts. So I need at least a 4,000 watt generator. And that's not running anything else. That's not accounting for a laptop to plug in to charge. That's not accounting for phones to charge, which are not going to pull as much, but every little bit goes against what you're producing. So that's how you walk through that as far as sizing it. Does anyone else have any questions? And also, if you want to have someone walk you through this, like I said, reach out to me. We can figure out a way to do that. Next question is it possible to rotate appliances? Yes, it is, but you need to know what breakers they're on. So if you have a generator that's hooked into your house, and when you do that, like I said, the best way to do that, the best practice on that is to have an electrician go in there and put in a plug outside that you can plug in your generator to. And also, like I said, go back to the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. Never plug your generator in and turn it on if you're connected to the grid. You will hurt somebody. And I'm telling you not to do that. So the question is it possible to rotate appliances? Yes. Know which breaker they're on. Have that documented in your panel. So when you have to go do that, you turn one off and the other one on. As you do that, you're obviously cutting off the power source to one appliance and you're turning it on to the other. Now, whatever else is hooked on that circuit is going to be turned on as well. If you don't want to use additional energy, you need to turn that off. So it requires some preparation. It requires some process, walking through the process of events on if this happens, how are we set up? So if you would like more information on how to do that, you want to get in deeper, if you want to build more of a specific plan for you and you need help on that, reach out to me in a private message and we'll have that conversation. Are there any other questions? So the other thing that I just wanted to ask is, I know that there's not a huge number of people on right now, but I just wonder, is this helpful? Is this something that y'all would like to see in the future? Is it easier? Do you like the interaction of a YouTube live, or would you rather just have a video that you watch? Give me feedback on that as well, because I want to help people in the best way possible. And interacting with you seemed like a better way to do it than just putting up a video. All right, are there any other specific questions? So question is, how long does a full tank generator run, and how, as far as how many hours? That's going to vary as to which generator you have. You've got some larger generators that actually are even hooked into a large, 1,000-gallon or more propane tank. That's going to, because it's hooked straight to the propane tank, that's going to last a really long time. Your typical generator that you might get from, say, a box store, somewhere in the round of 5,000 watts, a lot of times going to run 8 hours to 12 hours, depending on how much you're using it, how much load's on it. But it really depends. It's specific to the engine that's on it, and then also to how much you're pulling off of it. So I know that's not a real specific answer, but that's just how they work. There's lots of variables, and that's why it's important to look through all these things and have it mapped out, have a plan in place. All right. Well, that's all that I had. I'll stay on for a little bit longer. If there's any more questions, put it down below, and if I don't get it on here, I'll be sure to respond to it once we're offline. Well, guys, I just thank y'all for popping in and going through this. I love for people that are trying to watch out and take care of their families to be able to get some good, solid information, things that are it's one thing to say, yeah, I need a generator. It's another thing to know what size, how to hook it up, how to be safe with it. And that's what I want for you and your family. The last thing that I ever want to see or hear about is someone getting hurt while they're trying to meet the needs of their family, provide necessity for their family. So once again, thanks for hopping on. Leave a comment in below as far as what else you want to go through. I know solar panels are a big topic, so I think we'll pop in, start talking about that in a future video. But thanks again. Y'all have a good evening and stay safe.